Hello, work life warriors. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm back with a book review, and this week's book is Dying for a Paycheck. I don't think you can see it. Okay, there we go. Hold on. Dying for a Paycheck. This was such a great book. This is exactly what I do, how I help companies, how I help regular everyday people manage stress. Ultimately, I believe that there is a relationship between the person experiencing stress and the environment in which they are experiencing stress. And so, therefore, I focus on both sides. I help employees manage their stress, or just people manage stress. And then I also help the company um, change things about the environment that are constant stressors, right? Or that cause people stress, so that therefore the employee is managing stress and the employer is cutting out the things that cause stress in the work environment, right? So there's so much to be said about this book, and I don't even really know how to approach it, right? Because a lot of it is more so like I don't even know the word, because we all know that how our employers treat us affect us personally. It affects our health, it affects our well-being, it affects our other relationships, it affects our life, work, life. Look, work comes before life in that context. They say work life, so work is more important. Work is the basis of life, or the foundation is what helps you to have the life that you want, or it helps to improve the quality of life that you want, or that you currently have. I mean, work is integral, of course. Like, we need to work and not work, right? But if work is taking up so much of our everything, where it is the priority and we don't have time for anything else, obviously we need to make an adjustment. And it's just very confusing to me getting pushback about the adjustment. So stress is hurting both the health of the employer and the employee, but yet it is not addressed. Yet you have to argue about, the things that cause stress in work environments, and the lack of stress education that we give people. And so it's just confusing, because we know stressed out people miss work. We know that they're in civil. We know that they're not productive. They're not engaged, that it creates a toxic work environment, that they wind up leaving, that they're tardy. It costs the environment or the work environment in so many tangible processes and practices, in non-tangible, invaluable information and processes, right? When you lose an employee, you lose so much information, so many in the process, so much stuff is not translated due to a person leaving because they are stressed out. But the mentality of many employers just is, I'll just find another employee. And it's like, just expecting retention costs to be a thing, and to even factor it into your overall profits. Like, okay, we'll lose this much in retention, just doesn't make sense to me. It makes more sense to fix the problem, so that you don't have to chart out $200,000 a year because you lost so many employees, when you could keep those employees and keep them happy, and then they can innovate and help increase profits within the company. Or just in general, of how we don't learn anything about stress. Like, we know that we experience stress, we know that there are stresses, but I've gone through extensive education, and outside of me seeking to learn about stress, I didn't get any stress education. Did you? Where did you learn about stress? I never knew that stress is good for you or it can be good for you. Never knew there was different types of stress. I didn't know how stress was affecting my body. I didn't know exactly what a stressor was. I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't know about adapting. I didn't know about anything. I thought a lot of what I was doing, like I would go to work, I would work really hard, I had all these goals and dreams, and it just was not working the way that I thought it would. And I would go home and think that I'm de-stressing, that I'm reducing cortisol in my body, and I actually wasn't. I was shopping, which again, that's a short-term fix, but over long term, it doesn't really help anyone, right? And when the bill comes, you're more stressed out, right? Depending on what your funds are, you may be more stressed out. Watching TV, depending on what you're watching on TV, may produce more cortisol in your body because we have mirror neurons. Our body doesn't know, or ours doesn't know the difference. So if you're watching something action-packed or drama or scary, you're releasing cortisol in your body. You're not reducing stress. When we on social media, most of the time we are getting hits of dopamine, that's good for us in the short term, but in the long term, is it good for our self-esteem by numbing ourselves or comparing ourselves or competing on social media? Spending so much of our time just scrolling into other people's business and not really taking the time to focus on our own problems. We kind of distract and numb ourselves. What else? Drinking. In short term, of course, it makes you feel better, but over the long term, drinking is not good for your health and well-being. And you don't want to have an addiction of drinking or drug addiction to kind of decrease stress or just kind of escape. That's not really, helping your situation. It's actually making it worse. And over the long term, you will suffer disease and illness because you're not being preventative about the stress or the stressors in your life or any challenges that are beyond just the normal pressure. You're not eliminating them. You're not reducing them. You're not, directly dealing with them head on, and they will affect you. So again, it's like we're not educated on something that's so vital to our existence, but also something that is everywhere. You cannot avoid the omnipresence of stress. It's everywhere. You will be stressed, and no one leaves this life without being stressed, and to not know what it is or how to combat it, or not knowing if what you're doing is actually combating it or making it worse. If we have maladaptive techniques into coping stress, then in the future, not only do the companies suffer, our employers, but our family, our friends, and all the things that matter to us suffer because we do not know exactly what stress is and how to manage it. And then also on the corporate side, where you know that retention is causing so many, problems within your organization. It is distress is causing poor morale, productivity, low productivity, and low engagement. It also, affects, absenteeism, tardiness, accidents, incivility, suicide, which is a big one, homicide, work-related danger. It's just so many things that stress or having stressors constantly stress you out on the workplace affects the health and well-being of the company and its employees. And yet we accept it as the standard. We use quick fixes like temps and kibachas and ping pong tables and incentives and all of these things instead of really just addressing what the problem is. And the book does a really good job talking about like all of the silly ways that, companies try to use to kind of, reduce retention and decrease stress, but it's not really hitting the problem of what's really happening. And overall, when you think about your workplace, and just how work is set up, to hear that the number one stressor or the number one thing that in the working place that can impact your health and well-being, that can lead to chronic disease or illness is, lack of job autonomy, which is basically what work is. Many of us don't have autonomy at work over how we come to work, when we come to work, what we do at work, how we do our tasks. We don't have that autonomy, and that autonomy alone is a major factor contributing to heart disease or heart attack. And so just to think about the structures of a work environment where you can't even go out of your way to decrease the stress that you're under. You can't get up and stretch. You can't walk away from your desk. You can't take your lunch early. You can't go and meditate. You can't find a quiet space. You can't walk around. You can't practice breathing. You can't practice laughter, yoga. You can't even laugh. It's frowned upon to even get up and go and vent to a coworker. So in general, if you don't have the autonomy to manage your stress in a stressful work environment, and a lack of autonomy is what is causing the disease and illness, it's a catch-22. And it's just so crazy that I even have to convince people to manage their stress, to come to, stress management, stress education workshops, to learn how you can improve the quality of your life, how you can increase happiness, health, enjoyment, and all the positive things that you really want in your life, because stress is a driving force. It is an obstacle that is standing in the way of the life that you really want. And so it's so crazy when I have to convince people to focus on stress, to learn about stress, to make sure that the things that they're doing are adaptive to coping with stress, to decreasing the cortisol in your body. And then on the other side, the business side, it is amazing that I have to convince companies to, want to save profit by treating employees like adults and allowing them the opportunity to, decrease the stress, to manage their stress, to self-manage, to self-govern, so that they can show up and be more engaged and productive in life, at work, and balance their work in life, because that is the only way you'll have healthy employees, knowledgeable employees, knowledge workers, experts, because other than that, you will continually have, on the business side, novice employees, because you're constantly hiring. You have no veterans. You have no chance of developing any innovation within the company, because your best people who have understood the process at a deeper level aren't there to, innovate something new. Everybody is just learning. About time they learn and moving on, because the work environment is so stressful, it's so toxic, because you think what you're doing is working when research show it isn't working. It isn't helping the company. It isn't helping the employee. It isn't helping the world. And we can do a much, much, much better job by allowing people to have a little bit of autonomy so they can manage the stress, and that work environments address the things that constantly keep your employees in a state of extreme stress or just stress in general, and allowing employees to do what's best for them, to balance work and life, and to, balance practicing stress management with the work that they do for your company. We as a society need to do a better job, because if 90% of all visits to healthcare providers are stress related, and the number one stressor is job stress, then we have to do a better job as employees by managing our stress while at work, and as employers by allowing our employees to manage their stress. This book said so much. I don't even know where to start, how to address it. And I just kind of wanted to have a general discussion of what is going on in the state of, like, why do we ignore stress? Why do we act like it's not something that we should focus on? It's not something that we should be practicing prevention for. I don't understand why we decide to distract ourselves and numb ourselves instead of addressing stress and our stresses, head on, so that we can improve the quality of our lives, so that we could be happier, healthier, have more joy, be more engaged and productive in our own life. We have one life. There is not a reset button at the end of our lives. We have one life to do something that really matters, that really counts. And it's in our best interest to do that, to make sure that we're managing our stress, to stay ahead of all of the things that could possibly decrease the quality of our life, so that, we can add some much needed value in the world. This world is a shared experience. So when you're stressed out and I have to deal with you, whether it's interactions online or, just in every day, you deplete me, or you, decrease my overall experience by you having a bad experience. We're one. So if you're stressed out, it makes me stressed out. And I wish that it was more so if I was happy, I can make you happy. But we all know that we're negatively biologically wired. And so we, tend to mirror the things that shift and change us more. And stress is one of those things that happen to push us to change and shift more. And so we want to be intentional about how we prevent our stress, about how we manage it, about our stresses in our life, about taking on too many stresses at too many times, too many stresses at a short amount of time, and the severity of what type of stressor that it is. We want to manage how we're showing up. We want to manage, what stressors, even if in your work environment, you're not allowed to fully practice stress management. There are so many things that you can do at your desk that can't be controlled, like breathing, like your diet, like water, like what you do on your break, how you socialize, how you use your phone. Laughter is a big one. It's so many things that we can do, that we must do, regardless of if our work environments are permitting us to do that. Because again, we see on the business side that there is a problem. Although that they know that it is a problem, they will rather just settle on it being a problem and factor it into cost, as opposed to taking some of that cost and figuring out how to solve the problem overall, how to shift the environment so that it benefits all stakeholders, all shareholders, instead of just the people who are shareholders. Every person who has a stake in what work that they do and how they do it, and the value that they bring into whatever work environment, should be able to manage themselves and manage the stresses and be able to take care of themselves while they contribute something meaningful to work. So again, I just finished this book today. I'm going to think about it, throughout the week. I have so many notes. Look how many notes. I have so many notes from this book. I am going to unpack it. You may get a couple of videos, but I kind of just wanted to give you the overall, my overall thoughts behind what exactly is going on in the workplace and what we can do to change it. We can't wait for our employers to recognize that what they're doing is stressing us out and actually do something about it. They are aware, and maybe, with how stretched out they are, they don't have, the resources or time to make it a priority. But it is impacting your health and well-being. So you, as a person, as a professional, as an employee, have to make it your priority. You have to make it a priority every day to practice prevention and to manage your stress, to go out of your way to do so. Just like you need breathing and eating the air, you need to practice your stress, because we live in a stressful society, and you don't want to get sick, diseased, or ill because you're not practicing, stress management, or you're not combating the cortisol in your body, which is lethal in high doses over extended periods of time. So don't do that. Let's work on managing our stress. Let's do it as a community. Let's do it regardless of where we are, whether we're at home or at work. Let's practice stress management. Let's not put it in the hands of anybody else, because it isn't anybody else's job or responsibility to manage your stress or your stressors. That is your responsibility. And it's so easy to do so. Now, again, life is busy already, but stress management is simple. It's things that you can do in an easy way. They're easy to implement. They're easy to sustain. You just have to make stress management a priority, regardless of what the society do, and stop doing the easy things that, again, in the short term help, but are maladaptive in the long run, because they cause chronic disease and illness or more stress in the future. So again, nobody is going to love you the way you love you, and it is your responsibility to take care of you, to love on you, to care for you, regardless of what other people's expectations of you are in this world. You must come first. You must take care of yourself first, and you give what's left to other people, regardless of what they say, regardless of if they call you selfish, because again, there are many unselfish people who died of heart attack, diabetes, had chronic illnesses and diseases because they gave all of their time and energy to their workplace or to their stresses, and they didn't combat them. And now they are no longer able to manage stress, right? Because they're no longer with us. We have an option to practice prevention and manage stress so that our quality of life improve and these things do not happen to us. It is essential. It's vital. It is a priority. It is not something that you could push to the side. It is not optional. If you work hard, you must play harder. You must go out of your way to decrease stress, to decrease the cortisol in your body. It is in your best interest if you want to live a long, healthy, happy life. So again, I hope this helps. Have you read this book, Work Life Warriors? Tell me what you think about it. Tell me, what do you think about today's discussion? Did I say something that made you, think about how you're viewing stress? Did I offer something to make you change how you're managing your stress at work, at home? Because it's so important that we do that. It's a shared experience. And I want us all to be happy and joyous and have peace and enjoy this one life that we have. And we can do it together. Again, I'll have a couple of more videos maybe, or maybe I'll just, talk about it in other videos, but not do another book review. So I hope this helps, Work Life Warriors. This was a great book. I have so much to think about. It's also a library book. Y'all know how I feel about the library book. I love library books. It's the best. Libraries are, a lot of people don't go to them anymore. I don't know when's the last time you checked out a book, but I just love how they smell. And I love making the little marks and you can't write in them. And I love trying to race against the return date to try to read the book. And so, yes, this came, as you can see. But it was a great book. It came out in 2018. I would recommend anybody read it. It's not just for employers. If you're an employee and a professional and you want to understand the context in which stress is affecting you at work and in life, this is a great book to read. So I hope you enjoy your Monday, Work Life Warriors. Have a great day.